Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's Henry again. And hello, daughter. Hello, any friends that are happen to be watching. Today is what? The 24th of August, 2024. And today is Saturday, the Sabbath, when I go to church. And at church, we discuss the topic of marriage. And as I said in my title, marriage, a study in depth of commitment. Now, again, there's a comma there or not there. I could either say a study in depth of commitment, or I could say without the comma, a study in depth of commitment. So, we're talking about both. This is an in-depth study, and it's a study about the depth of commitment. Just like the thief on the cross when Jesus said, "I tell you today, you'll be with me in paradise." A lot of people think that means that very day that they would be in paradise. No, the comma was removed, and if you remove the comma, he would be saying, "I tell you today, we will be in paradise." No, I tell you today, comma, you will be with me in paradise. How do we know that? Because when Mary went to touch him, he said, "Don't touch me, Mary. I've not yet ascended to my Father," and that was 3 days later. So the concept is marriage, and I'm really taking a look at Mark 10 in regards to taking a look at Mark 10, and the Pharisees had come to Jesus, and they were trying to fool him, and as a result, they came to him in Matthew. Let's see. Matthew 10, 1 through 12, and they said, what does the law say about, divorcing a woman? And Jesus said, well, what did Moses teach you? And they said, Moses permitted to give a bill of divorce and to put her away. Well, the truth of it is, the Pharisees really made a mockery of marriage, because really they used Deuteronomy 24, 1 through 4 to virtually put a woman away for any reason. But Moses meant it for infidelity. So the concept is, they tried to trap him, but it was such a foolish question. They could have asked a little more trickier question, but no, they didn't. So what were the reasons that the Pharisees said that you could put a woman away for? Well, infidelity is definitely one, but they'd kill her for that. But there are other ones. There was if they were barren, if they did not produce children, if they would no longer be pretty and became not so attractive, put her away. Or perhaps she overcooked the food, put her away. And that was terrible, because the man would leave and go on with his life, and the woman would be reduced to begging. They didn't have social programs to help people back then. And that's why Jesus said, you are to present her with a certificate of divorce, so that when she meets somebody else, if she marries that person, she doesn't commit adultery. So the concept is marriage. The devil wants to undermine the family, because that's one of the pillars. There's only a few things that traveled from the Garden of Eden into this world, and one was the institution of the Sabbath. That crossed over. And the other was marriage. That covenant between two people came across as well. They're both holy. The 10 Commandments are holy, and marriage is holy. Holy matrimony, holy Bible. Holy means set aside. The Bible is like no other book. It is set aside. It's holy because it's set aside. Gone with the Wind, Harry Potter, all those books have earthly value but zero godly value. So the concept is, look at in this day how rampant divorce is. I myself was married to a woman, a wonderful woman, but because of our youth, inexperience, impatience, lack of knowledge, lack of self-control, we ended up divorcing. I've not remarried. But I'll tell you the truth, when we were back then, we were babes. And to this day, I reflect back on that marriage, and I tell you the truth, I believe that if we were to to be in a circumstance with what we know now, very likely with the calming of the seas, it would be maybe a very likely different outcome. Now, if you look at any divorce, in reality, both parties are responsible. Actually, each party single-handedly, if you look at marriages and under a true light and with clear eyes, each partner by themselves had done enough to single-handedly destroy the marriage. So, what was God's original plan for marriage? He wanted commitment. We're married to Him. He expects a certain amount of commitment. And yes, there are going to be stormy seas and there are going to be disagreements. The attitude is to attack the issues and not the character. But what do people do? They make it very personal. They get become furious with each other. Love is dying. When the heat comes on, you get to actually see how people actually are. If you look at wax, when it's heated, it becomes soft and pliable. When you look at clay and it's heated, it becomes fragile and brittle. So the concept is, we all, for those of us that are divorced, we all look back and think, because there was much, I'm certain that all of us see some beauty in our ex-partners, unless they're very devilish. But anyway, so getting back, at Sabbath school today, we were discussing Mark 10, and Deuteronomy 24. And the concept is in my opinion, I spoke up and I said, well, if you look at Adam and Eve, that was the first marriage. I said, look at their level of commitment. It was astounding. Eve went and she partook of fruit. And as a result, she had cheated on God. So she had committed adultery because God said one thing and she broke that promise. And as a result, with her doing that, Adam could have put her away. He could have said, Eve, you've partaken. Because when Adam saw Eve and she took a bite of that fruit, she was like on the biggest cocaine high. She was like, her eyes were open. No, actually, she had poisoned herself and she was dying. It took hundreds of years, but before 1,000 years occurred, she was dead. And to God, 1,000 years is one day. So within that day, she perished, and so did Adam. Now, when Eve presented the fruit to Adam, Adam said, "Oh, Eve." He realized that a catastrophe had occurred. Now, if they would have been, now this is the worst kind of adultery, this is the worst kind of error that could possibly take place. The worst, because she cheated on God. She was a harlot. I mean, basically she committed adultery against God because that's truly who they were married to. And so Adam would have had the correct, he would have been correct if he would have said, Eve, you've partaken of that fruit. I'm not going to do it. You're going to have to suffer those consequences. And in my thought, daughter, and anybody else, my thought is if he would have not taken hold of the fruit, Eve would have been destroyed. And I believe that God would have replaced her with somebody else. I can't prove it, but you can't disprove it. So we'll just that's my opinion. I'm not saying this is scripture by any means, but I believe that if he would have said, no, Eve, no, but Eve was beguiled, Adam chose. When he saw her, his heart sank, and he chose to share in her fate because they were the first marriage. They never knew anybody else besides each other. And, she was beguiled, and he chose to die with her. And if we look at that depth of commitment, the fact that, it's an amazing thing. And yet today, like the Pharisees in Deuteronomy 24, 1 through 4, you could put them, the Pharisees said, you could put them away for anything, everything. And in today's time, is it any different? People, and it's mostly selfishness. Marriages are destroyed because of selfishness or greed or anger, fury. They don't take the time to really embrace the covenant they've made in today's time, and the world cheapens it. Marriage is laughable now. People don't take it seriously. Many people do not get married because of the 50% opportunity to lose, to get a divorce and then lose all you have. But it's reversed now. Now a lot of times the men take a bath. But all the same, the devil hates family, and he hates people to be married to God. He hates it. He hates that form of worship. Now, the devil doesn't have an issue with worship, and that will actually be the last battle at the end of times, will be over worship. But he wants you to worship him. So, the statement is, regarding marriage, the depth of commitment. How in today's time, the commitment is so fragile, so superficial, so thin. And I myself have experienced it, and even though we're forgiven for our mistakes, some things torment us anyway. So, daughter, I just want to share with you what was spoken about in Sabbath school today. And even though Adam saw that Eve had committed a horrible transgression, not to be repeated in today's times, even murder would fall short of what happened there in the Garden of Eden, and his commitment to his wife. The reason women are called women is because the first woman came from the womb of man, Adam's rib, not his head that he may rule over her, not the foot that he may be under her control, but from a rib, in that they were joined together spiritually. So, daughter, I wanted to share today's Sabbath school study, and I wanted you to know that I'm thinking about you, and I want you to know that with the passing of time, I look back, and your mother was a very wonderful woman, and I did love her very deeply, and still care about her deeply. Even all these years have gone by, and I'm so happy that she's happy now, and I am too, honey. So remember, we're married to God, really. He's the groom, I'm the bride. Even though I'm an alpha male, I'm still a bride. Just plain. But anyway, daughter, I want to tell you that I love you. And for all my friends who are visiting, or anybody who sees this video, marriage is a solemn commitment, and it's a covenant. It's a promise. Let's keep our promises. And for those of us whose marriage has gone by the wayside, let's keep the promises we can. We promise to God to be his. And even though at this later part of my life, I'll be turning 65 very shortly, I want to keep my promise to be his. And we'll do the same, won't we, daughter? And all my friends, let's do our best to walk in the light we're giving, that someday we may see each other again when all of this comes to an end. And the lion that you see on my shirt, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, how did they get my picture on that shirt? I'll tell you later. Love you. Bye.